Hi everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're diving into Altimmune 25 proxy statement, and let me tell you, it's got a few surprises that might make you do a double take. We're not just looking at numbers here, we're uncovering the story behind them, and hey, if you like breaking down these thick corporate documents into plain English, make sure you're subscribed and join our Discord community linked in the description below. So what's the big deal? Altimmune is getting ready for their 2025 annual meeting of stockholders, and this document is essentially their report card and game plan for what's coming up. They're inviting everyone to attend virtually, which is pretty standard these days, but the real meat is in how they plan to keep their business on track and who's guiding the ship. First off, they need to elect their board of directors. There are 10 directors up for re-election, all nominated to serve for a year. This is a crucial part because these are the people who make the big decisions shaping the company's future. Let's look at who's up for election. Each person has a background that the company believes is valuable. For example, Jerome Durso, the chairman, brings over 30 years of experience in building and leading operations in life sciences organizations. Then there's Vipin K. Garg, the CEO, who has a solid track record in the biotech and pharma industries, from developing products to managing companies. What's really interesting is this skills matrix. It shows what kind of experience each director brings. You can see a lot of them have strong backgrounds in being a CEO or in top management, which is great for leadership. Many also have experience in late-stage clinical development and regulatory approvals. This is super important for a biotech company navigating the complex path to getting new drugs approved. See here, this column shows a lot of check marks for late-stage clinical development and regulatory approvals. This means the board has a good handle on what it takes to get a drug from the lab to the market. That's a huge advantage. And look at this section on merger acquisition and business development experience. This is vital for a company looking to grow, whether by acquiring others or forming strategic partnerships. Multiple directors have this experience, suggesting a focus on strategic growth and expansion. Next up, they're asking stockholders to approve their choice for an independent accounting firm, Ernst & Young or E&Y. This is basically a stamp of approval on who's checking their financial homework. It's important for trust and making sure everything adds up. They also give us a peek at the fees paid to E&Y. In 2024, Altimmune paid Ernst & Young about $812,000 for audit fees. That's a good chunk of change, but fairly standard for auditing a public company. The tax fees were around $71,000, so overall, the accounting firm got about $883,000 for their services. It's good to see these numbers. They tell us about how much the company relies on external expertise for its financial reporting. The audit committee, which is supposed to keep an eye on the company's financial health and integrity, reviewed these numbers. They confirmed that Ernst & Young is independent and that the financial statements for 2024 are solid. This report is basically their seal of approval. Now, this is often the most talked about item, the advisory vote on executive compensation, or say on pay. They are asking if you think the top executives are being paid fairly for their performance. Let's look at how much these executives actually made. For 2024, CEO Vipin K. Garg's total compensation was over $6 million. That might sound like a lot, and it is, but it's important to see how it's broken down. For Dr. Garg, the vast majority of that compensation, nearly $5.1 million, came in the form of stock and option awards. His base salary was around $633,000. So while the total number looks big, a lot of it is tied to the company's stock performance, which is generally a good thing for aligning executive interests with shareholder interests. Then we have Dr. M. Scott Harris, the Chief Medical Officer, with total compensation of about $2.46 million in 2024. Almost $1.77 million of that was in stock and option awards. Again, a significant portion is performance-based, and Dr. M. Scott Roberts, the Chief Scientific Officer, also made around $2.41 million in 2024. Similar to Dr. Harris, a big chunk of that, about $1.77 million, was in equity awards. This shows a clear strategy of tying executive pay, especially for these top science and medical roles, to the long-term value of the company's stock. This pay versus performance table is actually quite telling. It tries to link the executive's compensation to the company's performance, specifically its total shareholder return and net loss. For the CEO, Vipin Garg, his compensation actually paid, or CAP, was about $2.45 million in 2024. That's quite a bit less than the total reported in the summary compensation table. This happens because of how they calculate CAP, which includes adjustments for when stocks or options actually vest or change in value. It's important to note that while the reported total compensation looks high, the actual compensation looks high. The actual compensation that is realized by the executives can be very different, often much lower depending on stock performance and vesting schedules. This also highlights how much of their pay is tied up in the company's future success. For the other named executives, their average cap was around $1.13 million in 2024. Again, this number is significantly lower than their total reported compensation due to the same equity adjustments. Now let's look at the company's performance itself. The total shareholder return, or TSR, tells us how much a shareholder's investment grew or shrank. In 2024, an investment of $100 would have been worth about $78.71 at the end of the year. That's a loss, meaning shareholders didn't make money that year, and their net loss in 2024 was a hefty $95 million. So you see a pattern here. Executives received substantial total compensation, largely in the form of equity, while shareholders experienced a loss in their investment, and the company had a significant net loss. This pay versus performance section is really where you can see if the big paychecks are actually leading to better results for everyone. And in 2024, the picture isn't exactly rosy for shareholders. They also disclose any dealings with related parties, basically people connected to the company like directors or top executives. It's a way to ensure everything is on the up and up. They mention a master services agreement with Inicio Evoke Communications for communications planning. It turns out that Dr. Catherine Soten's daughter is an executive vice president at a division of this company. In 2024, Altimmune paid this company $300,000. This is a normal disclosure, showing they are transparent about any potential conflicts of interest. Finally, they have a proposal to allow the meeting to be adjourned if needed. This is basically a safety net, giving them more time to gather votes if they don't get enough to pass certain proposals. Now let's put on our Warren Buffett hats and look at the bigger picture. Altimmune is clearly a company in the development phase, heavily reliant on scientific progress and regulatory approvals. The significant amount of compensation paid in equity awards makes sense for a biotech firm, as it aims to retain top talent and align their interests with long-term shareholder value. However, the disconnect between the substantial executive compensation and the negative shareholder returns and net losses in 2024 is a red flag. While strong leadership and scientific expertise win a substantial executive compensation, and the negative shareholder returns and net losses in 2024 is a red flag. While strong leadership and scientific expertise are crucial, investors will be watching closely to see if these compensation packages translate into actual positive results for the company and its shareholders in the coming years. The board members' diverse experience in drug development and commercialization is a strength, but the company still faces the significant risks inherent in the biotech industry. Alright, that's our breakdown of Altimmune's latest filing. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.